Look, something is seriously off with the new Fed chair transition, and millions are noticing. I mean, picture this. It's May 22nd, 2026. Kevin Warsh raises his right hand and takes the oath as the new chairman of the Federal Reserve, the single most powerful job in the American economy. The man whose decisions reach all the way down to your mortgage, your savings account, and the price of the steak in your cart. And a few feet away, watching it happen, sits the man he's replacing, who, for some reason, isn't actually leaving.
I don't have to fire him, okay? If he's not leaving on time, I've held back firing him. I've wanted to fire him, but I hate to be controversial.
For years, the president had hammered that old chairman in public, pounded him like a faulty vending machine, cut rates, cut faster, cut deeper. So the second he finally gets his own guy in that chair, every expert and every headline assumes the exact same thing. Okay, well, here come the cuts. Cheaper money, relief. Well, that is not what happened. Day one, the talk inside that building isn't cutting. It's the opposite. Hold the line. Maybe even raise. At the last meeting before the handoff, 4 of them broke ranks, the most pushback in that room since 1992. And not one of them did it to cut faster. They did it to warn the next move might be a hike. And that old chairman who wouldn't leave, he's still on the board, in the room, right behind the new guy. It's the economic version of breaking up with someone and then watching them climb into the back seat of your car to critique your parallel parking. So Trump wanted cuts. Warsh was picked to cut. The math says don't, and Powell never actually left. If your gut is telling you something here is deeply off or weird, your gut is right. And it's just not off for the reason they're putting on the news. Because here's the part nobody is saying out loud. Underneath all of it, there's a problem so big that Washington really only has 3 ways out. 2 of them end careers on the spot. And the third, the quiet one, only works by dumping it on the American people. And it has a name, and a bank full of billionaires has already told its clients to get ready for it. That's what this is really about. And before we're done, I'm going to show you the one move they have left, and the thing the smartest money in the country quietly did about it months ago. And look, if you've spent your whole life doing it right, you've been saving, you've been staying out of debt, you've been paying off the house, keeping a cushion in the bank for a rainy day, and you still feel like you slip a little further behind every single year, you're not imagining that. You're not bad with money. There's a machine running underneath all of this, and almost nobody will explain it to you in plain English. So that's what I'm going to do. 3 things. First, the only 3 ways out of a debt this size, and why 2 of them are off the table. Second, why the Fed is standing up there saying the exact opposite of what the math is screaming. And third, the big one, what the richest families in the country are quietly doing right now, and what it means for your house and the money in your savings account. So let's start with what's front and center of the problem. The federal government is somewhere north of $39 trillion in debt. That number, it's so big it completely stops meaning anything. It sounds like a kid trying to guess how many stars are in the sky. So forget the number. Just picture a household that owes way more than it makes, and the interest alone is the biggest expense they've got. When you're in a hole that deep, there are only 3 doors out. Door number 1, raise taxes. A lot, on everybody. And be honest with me, when's the last time a politician got reelected by raising your taxes? Right. Door number 1, loses elections, bolted shut. Door number 2, cut spending. And not the stuff nobody misses, the big stuff. Social Security, Medicare, the checks people built their whole retirement around. Go run for office on that one. So door number 2 loses elections also, bolted shut, which leaves door number 3. And door number 3 is quiet. Nobody votes on it. Nobody holds a press conference about it. Here's how it works. You let the cost of everything rise faster than the interest you're paying people on their savings. You don't pay the debt down, you let inflation shrink it. Every year prices climb. Every year the dollar buys a little less. And that mountain of debt gets lighter and lighter because it's getting paid back in dollars worth less than the ones that were borrowed. And I'm asked for clarification on this all the time. So here's the simplest way I can put it. Let's say you've got $100 in the bank and inflation runs at 5%. We'll keep the math simple. A year later, you've still got your $100 in your account, but now it only buys $95 worth of stuff. You lost $5 without anybody touching your account. Now flip it. What if that $100 in your account wasn't money you saved? Let's say it was money you borrowed. Well, you still owe $100 at the end of the year, but that 100 is only worth $95 now. So you pay it back with cheaper dollars than the ones you borrowed. You just came out $5 ahead. Same $100. The saver loses. The borrower wins. That's how inflation works. So the logical thing to do would be to park your money in a safe place where it earns at least 5%, right? In order to break even. That makes sense. But this is what's different about right now. They'll take this move away from you and hold interest rates down on purpose, so you can't get that 5%. They'll hold it below the rate prices are rising. So your savings crawl along at 0.5% while everything you buy gets 5% more expensive year after year. And there's nowhere safe left to put your money that keeps up. And here's why they'll do that. The government is borrowing at those same low rates. If they let your savings pay 5%, they'd have to pay 5% on their own trillions in debt too. And the whole plan, it falls apart. So they pin the rates low. They pay you next to nothing. Inflation melts what they owe by 5% a year, and that gap, prices running hot while your interest is held cold, that gap is your money quietly sliding across the table to them. And there's a name for this. It's called financial repression. And notice how they dress it up. They don't call it draining your savings account while you sleep. They give it a nice sterile academic name. So by the time you figure out you're being repressed, the money's already gone. It's pickpocketing in a tweed jacket. And I didn't cook this up in a bunker. No, it's exactly how this country dug out from under its debt after World War II. Hold rates down, let inflation run a little hot, melt the debt away quietly over years. It worked. They've done it before. So here's where it gets strange. If door number 3, this policy of financial repression, is the only door left, you'd expect the Fed to be walking toward it, right? Quietly easing, letting things run a little warm. But they're doing the opposite. Well, at least out loud they are. Remember those 4 who broke ranks at the last meeting? Here's what they were actually fighting for. They wanted the Fed to say it out loud, that the next move might be a hike. And the notes from that meeting show a majority of them figured rates might have to go up if inflation keeps running hot. They even talked about cutting the language that hinted any cuts were coming at all. So here it is. The president wants cheaper money. The new chair was hired to deliver cheaper money. And the room he just walked into is leaning the other way, toward making money more expensive. That's the gap. That's the thing millions of people's guts are picking up on. The long-term math practically needs inflation to do its quiet work on that debt, because those other 2 doors we've already established aren't options. But the people standing at the microphone are telling you they're fighting inflation with everything they've got. So which is it? Well, here's the part I can't prove because I'm just a U.S. Marine who buys houses for a living. I'm not an economist. I don't get the memos. But I can see 2 things that don't fit. And I can ask the obvious question. Either there's something we don't know that we don't know behind a secret 4th door, or what we're watching at the podium is pure, uncut theater. Tough talk now, the quiet melt a little bit later. Now, I don't know which, but I do know how to find out. You stop listening to what people say, and you start watching what they do with their own money. So let's do that. Let's watch the people who are never wrong on purpose. The ones who literally cannot afford to guess. The giant university endowments, the family offices, the private banks that handle money for the wealthiest families in the country. What are they doing? And I didn't fully put this together until I went digging into this Fed handoff, but it's all sitting right there in their own reports. Start with JP Morgan. Their private bank, the arm that handles the richest families in America, put out their big outlook for the year. And in it, in writing, they tell their clients to get ready for policymakers who may, and I'm quoting them here, meddle with central bank independence and inflate away the debt. They said it in their report, inflate away the debt. The bank for the richest people in the country told its own clients to prepare for the exact move that I just walked you through. Lean on the Fed, inflate the debt away. They put door number 3 in writing in their report. And notice the word they chose, meddle. That's billionaire speak for tilt the whole game so nobody ever has to balance a budget. They say meddle. They mean pillage. And in the same report, they say one more thing. They warn that holding a big pile of cash in a world like this can, quote, quietly and irrevocably impair real wealth. Quietly, irrevocably. That's a fancy banker way of saying sitting in cash will bleed you out like a medieval leeching, and you are never getting that blood back. Now, do they just say it, or do they actually do it? Look at where the money sits. The big family offices, the private investment shops for the ultra-rich, have got about 42% of their money parked in what they call alternatives. Real assets, private deals, things you can touch, not just paper. Harvard's endowment? Only about $1.05 is sitting in regular stocks, bonds, and cash. 1 in 5. The other 80% is out of the paper that most people hold. Yale looks about the same. I could keep going, but you get the pattern. So here's what I want you to sit with for a second. Everybody is staring at the same debt, the same numbers, the same Fed, and you've got two completely different groups doing two completely opposite things. One group is standing at a microphone talking. The other group is sitting in a boardroom acting. They moved their money quietly a while ago. So I'll ask you the same question I keep asking myself. Who do you think is reading this right? The people talking into the camera, or the people who already voted with their own fortune? And this is the part that stings a little because it flips everything you were ever told. The old conventional wisdom, the stuff your parents told you, the stuff the safe money gurus preach, was always the same. Cash is king, debt is the enemy, pay everything off, sit tight in the bank where it's safe. Well, in a world where the plan is to inflate the debt away, that advice is backwards. The safe money, the cash, the CDs, the careful pile in the bank, that's not the lifeboat. That's the fuel. JP Morgan said it to their own clients in plain language. A big cash position can irrevocably bleed away what you've built. The single most responsible thing you were ever told to do quietly turned irresponsible. Well, at the very least, it turned into the thing that pays somebody else's debt. And that's the big club. They sold you the virtues of saving. They stamped responsible on your forehead, handed you a 4% CD, and patted you on the back, while they quietly loaded up on the hard assets. So let's make this dead simple. Who wins and who loses? The person who loses is the saver. Money sitting in a savings account at what, I don't know, 0.5% maybe, while the real cost of your life climbs north of 3, 4, 5% and keeps going, while you are slowly losing to inflation every single year. The person who wins is the borrower, the one on the other side of the exact same trade, the one who owes a little bit of money at a fixed rate on something real, like a house. That's the whole game. The saver gets quietly squeezed. The person who owns a real thing with fixed debt on it gets quietly carried. And here's the part I love. You do not need a Harvard endowment or a family office to be on the winning side. You can't call a private bank on Monday morning. But owning something real with a fixed rate loan on it, that is the regular person's version of the exact move the smart money already made. If you want some help with that, I put some information together for you at inflationdefense.com. It could be a good place to start. Listen, this isn't a real estate channel because I love real estate. It's a real estate channel because real estate is the final frontier where the average person has a legitimate shot at surviving this system. And I'm not talking about getting rich from real estate here, although over time it is likely to happen, but that's not what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm talking about mere survival. So here's where it lands. You've really got two plays. Play one, you do nothing. You leave the money in the bank, you trust the suits at the podium, and you let the quiet melt do its work on you. You fuel the nation's recovery. Or play two. You do the unglamorous, everyday version of what the richest families already did. You stop holding all your value in the one thing that's designed to lose it, and you move some of it into something real. Ideally, something real with a fixed rate loan, so inflation works for you instead of against you. Nobody is going to ring a bell and tell you when. The smart money sure didn't wait for one. They moved while everyone else was watching the show in Washington. And look, I'm not your financial advisor or your CPA, nothing like that. I mean, if you got one or both, you should talk to them. I'm just a guy on YouTube who reads the fine print so you don't have to. But when the bank for the billionaires and Harvard and Yale and the family offices are all quietly walking through the same door, while the people on TV swear that that door doesn't even exist, I know which one I'm following. Here's the catch though. Because that move, owning something real with a fixed rate loan on it, it only works if you can actually get the loan. And what decides that? Your credit score, right? Well, the same week all of this was unfolding, they quietly changed it. FICO just rolled out a brand new version of your credit score. And this one doesn't just look at what you owe anymore. It's a little more intrusive now, actually. I mean, is nothing sacred anymore? How do they keep getting away with this? Well, same exact playbook. No vote, no press conference, nobody told you. So what I did is I broke it all down for you right here in this video for you to watch next, because they are watching closely. And most people have already clicked a button in their settings they didn't even realize gave them permission to do this. You can turn it off though. I'll walk you through it here. God loves you, and so do I. Take care.